In this video, we're going to look at vitamin D and why you need to be aware of it when you're following a plant-based diet. Vitamin D deficiency is thought to affect 1 billion people worldwide, and up to half of the world's population are thought to have suboptimal levels. So it's not only a problem for vegans. Vitamin D is another essential molecule required for human health. It plays a role in various bodily systems, but primarily you need sufficient vitamin D to absorb calcium from your diet. If you lack vitamin D, then your body's going to struggle to get all the calcium it needs, and you'll be unable to build and maintain strong bones. Vitamin D also helps to absorb a range of other nutrients, as well as helping you to keep your cardiovascular system in good shape. Let's have a look at some of the symptoms of a vitamin D deficiency before going on to look at how we can avoid it. Studies have shown that having low levels of vitamin D in your blood can cause fatigue, which can be reversed by providing the body with a good source of vitamin D. A lack of vitamin D has been shown to have an impact on mood and has even been linked to depression. Vitamin D deficiency is connected to a weakened immune system, which would manifest as getting sick frequently, maybe with lots of colds. And there's also been lots of talk recently about vitamin D levels impacting the effects of COVID. Long-term effects of a deficiency can be very serious and have been linked to all kinds of diseases such as cancer, high blood pressure, neurological disease, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune diseases, and inflammatory disorders. So who is actually at risk from a deficiency? Well, dietary sources of vitamin D are most abundant in animal products, and there are only a few plant-based sources. This makes vitamin D something that those on a plant-based diet need to be especially mindful of. And as we noted before, it's a problem that doesn't only impact on vegans. An article in Scientific American said that 3/4 of US teens and adults are deficient in vitamin D, so it's really something that everybody should have on their radar. So let's have a look at how you can get enough vitamin D in your diet through plant-based foods. Mushrooms can be a really good source of vitamin D. Shiitake are a favourite variety with us, but you could also try button or portobello. And if you leave them in the sunlight, gill side up, for about half an hour or so, they will actually start to produce vitamin D. Now, that might sound surprising, but humans produce vitamin D through exposure to sunlight in pretty much the same way. So the other plant-based food source are foods fortified with vitamin D. So that means that vitamin D has been added to those products. And you'll find it in some plant milks, in cereals, in some fruit juices, and even in tofu. So you need to just check the labels and make sure it says fortified with vitamin D. So as you can see, there isn't really an abundance of plant-based sources of vitamin D. But the good news for vegans, and actually for everyone else, is that we can get all the vitamin D we need from exposure to sunlight. Our bodies are able to turn sunlight, which falls on our skin, into this essential vitamin, which is pretty cool. So how much do you actually need? Well, as a rough guide, 15 to 20 minutes of sunlight on your face and your bare arms a few times a week should be enough for your body to produce all the vitamin D it needs. There are, however, a few things to keep in mind. If you live far from the equator, the strength of the sun will be much weaker, and you may require more time in sunlight to get the same effect. Similarly, in winter, 15 to 20 minutes might not be enough for you to get all you need. If you don't get enough sunlight, either because of where you live, the time of year, or your lifestyle, you might want to consider taking a supplement. And of course, if you're worried about having or getting a vitamin D deficiency, you should talk to your doctor about getting a blood test. You may choose to use a vitamin D supplement, which can easily be found in any health store or on the internet. They are pretty inexpensive, and you usually take one a day to get your daily needs. If you do decide to supplement, keep in mind that there are different types of vitamin D. Vitamin D3 normally comes from animal sources, very often fish oils, but you can also find vegan-friendly sources which are derived from lichen. The best thing to do is to check the label, as they'll usually tell you if they're vegan-friendly. You could also do an internet search for vegan vitamin D3 and see which products come up. And the other type is vitamin D2. Now this one is derived from plant-based sources and so is always vegan-friendly. In the UK, Public Health England is actually suggesting that everyone, not only vegans, take a vitamin D supplement in autumn and winter, and anyone who doesn't get exposure to sunlight should supplement year-round. And in the resources, you'll find an infographic that will give you the amount of vitamin D that's normally recommended every day for different age groups. So let's look at the key takeaways from today's video. Vitamin D deficiency is a global problem and impacts vegans and non-vegans alike. Plant-based sources of vitamin D are limited, and we looked at mushrooms and fortified foods, so that's those foods that have had vitamin D added to them. As a result of the lack of plant-based sources, vegans need to take special care about vitamin D. 15 to 20 minutes of sunlight on the skin is usually recommended as being sufficient to allow your body to produce all the vitamin D it needs. Some people may decide to supplement with vitamin D tablets, and if you do, remember that D3 is sometimes made from animals and sometimes plants, so check the labels, and D2 is made from plant-based sources. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions either now or any time in the future about this video or anything at all to do with the program, please get in touch. We would absolutely love to hear from you. Thanks, and speak to you soon.